Hello and welcome to Alexander Technique Made Easy. I'm Nick Chapman and today I want to tackle a question I hear a lot. Is the Alexander Technique old-fashioned? Some people think the language we use is outdated or that the technique itself is stuck in the past. But for those of us who have trained properly and committed to teaching it as F.M. Alexander described in his 4 books, that idea doesn't quite hold up. To me, saying the Alexander Technique is old-fashioned is a bit like saying the combustion engine or the light bulb is outdated. Yes, they've been around for a long time, but they still work, and they work really well. And when something works, why change it? F.M. Alexander didn't just come up with a set of exercises. He discovered something fundamental about how we use our bodies and minds. What he developed was groundbreaking, and most people wouldn't have the patience, insight, or sheer determination to figure out what he did. I always tell my students I don't change the technique or try to improve it because I can't. It's already brilliant just as it is. Now, I won't pretend that learning the Alexander Technique is easy. In fact, it can be really challenging. As teachers, we see students who come every week and sometimes we know they won't fully grasp it. And the truth is, there's nothing we can do to make them get it. That's because the technique isn't about quick fixes. It's about unlearning habits you've had for years. And let's be honest, real, lasting change is never easy. But that's also what makes the Alexander Technique so valuable. So, why do we stick to teaching the Alexander Technique exactly as it was written? Because it works. I've spent more than half my life practicing this technique. I've explored yoga, Reiki, martial arts, different sports, and all kinds of movement methods. But the Alexander Technique stands out because it does exactly what it's supposed to do, and it does it incredibly well. Don't forget that Alexander was meticulous in his studies and development of this technique, but he didn't work entirely on his own. He worked on the language we use with the American linguist and highly respected philosopher John Dewey. He also consulted with the eminent physiologist E. Coghill. Alexander was an actor, and his struggles with vocal strain led him to develop his technique. The theatre world of the late 19th century placed great emphasis on elocution and physical expression. Actors such as Henry Irving and Herbert Beerbohm Tree exemplified a controlled, expressive presence that may have inspired Alexander's approach to poise and projection.
My problem was not one of voice production alone, but of the use of myself.
Alexander's era saw a fascination with posture, breathing, and bodily control. Movements such as the Delsarte method. François Delsarte promoted a system of expressive movement that emphasized awareness of bodily habits. Swedish gymnastics. Per Henrik Ling's system of movement and posture had a strong influence on ideas about poise and health. Breathing and voice work. Teachers like Sir Charles Bell and Emil Benck studied the mechanics of voice production, which Alexander likely encountered in his own investigations. Alexander often referenced Charles Darwin, especially the idea that habits are inherited or ingrained through use. He also drew from Rudolf Magnus, a physiologist studying posture and reflexes, confirming many of Alexander's observations. John Hewlings Jackson, a neurologist who spoke about higher and lower brain functions, influencing Alexander's ideas on conscious control. Alexander read widely and absorbed ideas from William James, the father of American psychology, who wrote about habits and attention, themes central to the technique. Again, John Dewey, a philosopher and educationalist, reformer who was deeply influenced by Alexander and later became a student and advocate. Dewey wrote,
The Alexander technique bears the same relation to education that education itself bears to all other human activities.
Alexander's work was shaped by a mix of theatre, health movements, science, and philosophy. But what made him unique was how he put these influences together into a practical, systematic approach to change. As you can see, F.M. Alexander developed his technique by drawing on a wide variety of influences, and he worked very hard to bring us a method that really worked. As the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I say to all those people who think it's a bit old-fashioned, invent something better then. And they never do. So, if you want to take better care of yourself, feel lighter, move with more ease, and reduce tension, and as they would say in certain yoga schools, learn to conquer your body, find a teacher who teaches the Alexander technique as it was really meant to be taught. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be inspired to share your own experiences, maybe even in a podcast like this one. If you found this episode interesting, subscribe to Alexander Technique Made Easy, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening, and until next time, take care.